I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC 322, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. And it is late here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I was working the Cage Titans 74 event, did catch up on the UFC 322 card, so we're going to get into it, but just easier for me to just do this audio only, and you can look at the screen. Otherwise, you're just going to see my face on camera all the time. You guys see enough of me. So anyways, biggest stock riser on this card has got to be Islam Makhachev, capturing the belt at 170. He's now a double champion in the UFC. Obviously, he had to vacate the belt, but you know what I'm saying. He is a now 2-division champion for the UFC, and you know he makes some history here, being a lightweight and welterweight champion now. Just a dominant performance. And if we go look at the stat line, wish I could show you some highlights here, but you look at it there, led in significant strikes, got 4 takedowns, 4 of 4 here, and you look at the rounds here, just very dominant in this performance for Islam Makhachev. So you know, no one stock got higher on this card. Again, we're to the point now where, you know, who is better than Islam in the UFC as far as the overall skill set, moves up a weight class. People talked about the size, the strength, all that. None of that mattered. Islam was able to get it done. Excited to see what he can do at 170, or we'll see what is next for him as far as next opponents here. But this one was a no-brainer. Islam Makhachev, easily the biggest stock riser on this card. When you look back on UFC 322 as a whole, the only thing you're going to really know, I mean, there's a lot of good performances, and we'll get into them here shortly, but the big one for me was Islam Makhachev getting the win and capturing the welterweight title. Okay, second biggest stock riser on this card has got to be Michael Morales. Got to talk about him. Sorry for the delay there. Knocking out Sean Brady. Michael Morales was an underdog in this spot. It was a close fight. We knew that there was a possibility of Morales finishing Brady in this spot here. We've seen Brady get finished before. It was a little bit different with Bilal Muhammad. That was more of like a standing TKO. But this one goes out there, gets a TKO victory. 18-0. 26 years old, and just knocked out a very good contender in Sean Brady here. So Michael Morales, a lot of talk about, is he going to be next for the title with this win? Certainly has made a case for himself with the fact that he is undefeated here. And again, just going out there and taking care of business against Brady in the first round, extremely impressive, really utilizing that superior stand-up here. I think at some point, I mean, I don't know, maybe this could be next, but I think we got to see him and Carlos Prates. We'll talk about Prates in a second here, but very good win there for Morales as he now inserts himself in that contender spot. Again, younger fighter on the weight class, underdog, slight underdog there at plus 125. He goes out there and gets it done over Sean Brady. Michael Morales, second biggest stock riser on this card. Okay, third biggest stock riser in this spot is someone I just talked about there, Carlos Prates. First man to knock out Leon Edwards in his career. Edwards has never been finished before. He'd been rocked before, right? The Nate Diaz fight. We remember that fight a couple of years back. But Prates, listen, I think a lot of people, including myself, were kind of betting on the potential side of things with Prates, with him going out there and finishing the fight. And, he wasn't able to do it against Ian Gary. Here he does it against another high-level opponent here in Leon Edwards, the former welterweight champion. He was favored to do this. And I think people picking him did think that it was going to be a knockout, but it's just the fact that, again, Edwards has never been knocked out before. Edwards isn't that old. He's 34, but you don't think of him, and yes, he's on a decline obviously now, but you don't really think of him as being one of these guys that's age is becoming a factor for him. I don't think that's it. I just think that it's a changing of the guard in the weight class, and Prates is certainly part of that. He goes out there, becomes the first guy to knock out Jeff Neal in the UFC. Now he knocks out Leon Edwards. Big one for Carlos Prates, another guy who could make claim to a title shot at this point, with the fact he goes out there and gets the second round finish, I should say, in this fight. And listen, Edwards, I don't think looked terrible here. I thought he had a good first round, but at the end of the day, Carlos Prates walks away with the knockout. He is the second biggest stock riser on this card. Okay, third biggest stock riser on this card. That was the third biggest stock riser here. It's late, guys. Forgive me here a little bit. I wanted to give a couple honorable mentions. This is one of those cards that I just I have to mention some other performances on this event. So honorable mention, got to talk about Benoit Saint-Denis getting a 16-second knockout over Beneil Dariush. I had some people in my live chat a couple months ago being like, Saint-Denis doesn't have any power. Yes, he does. We saw that in this fight. Left hook, KO, TKO. I said it on the preview show on Monday. I did get this pick wrong, by the way. I thought Dariush was going to be able to survive the first round against Benoit Saint-Denis, but Saint-Denis, again, this is how you beat Beneil Dariush. Unfortunately, Dariush has had a habit of losing early in fights. He was a minus 220 favorite. He was expected to win here, like you can see. But, to go out there and get a 16-second win, he is right back in the driver's seat. He's right back to where he was before he fought Dustin Poirier. Right? There were a lot of questions, he had the losses obviously to Moicano and the Poirier loss as well, but he is right back in the driver's seat as someone that is certainly making some noise at the 155-pound division. Got to give Benoit Saint-Denis an honorable mention. And honestly, if this was any other card, he's easily in the top 3 stock risers here. I just have to go with some guys that are ranked a little bit higher or closer to title contention at this point. That's sort of why I went that route here. How about this one? Bo Nickel. Geez, you want to get fans to I mean, fans are still going to talk shit on Bo Nickel regardless. And yes, minus 250 favorite. But that head kick knockout, super impressive, getting it done in the third round against Rodolfo Vieira. This is what Bo Nickel needed, right? The big thing with Bo Nickel throughout his career was, yes, he was getting finishes early prior to him fighting, Reiner de Ritter. But it was against, opposition that, is not highly rated, not much. And look, Rodolfo Vieira, not a ranked opponent, not someone who's making a lot of noise in the weight class. But this is what Nickel needed to do, especially to get back in the good graces of the UFC. And, the fans as well. I mean, the fans are still not going to like him, let's be honest here. But this is a step in the right direction. I really like the adjustments that Nickel made. And I like the fact that he's going out there and finishing opponents. That was one of the big criticisms in the Paul Craig fight. He never finished him. It went the distance. I think Nickel, I won't say that he's back to where he was before fighting Reiner de Ritter, but I certainly think now with this win, he is someone that, I'm excited about again in the weight class. So Bo Nickel, third round knockout in this one, highlight reel finish. That's exactly what Bo Nickel needed on this card. And, yeah, we'll see. Maybe some fans like him a little bit after that one. We'll see. Another honorable mention, got to throw her in here, Erin Blanchfield finishing Tracy Cortez. I believe that's the first stoppage loss for Tracy Cortez in her career. I think her only other losses were decisions. So, again, Erin Blanchfield, still very young in the weight class. Yes, that was... Oh, no, she's been submitted before. Who submitted her? Must have been earlier in her career. Yeah, her pro debut, she got submitted. Whoop-de-doo. Back in August of 2017. So, the fact that Blanchfield went out there and finished her, I think, is a great sign. Now, look, I know Blanchfield, minus 325 favorite. I thought she was going to beat Tracy Cortez as well. I was thinking more decision. And Blanchfield does have a lot of submission victories, but these two fought previously, went the distance. Blanchfield has more decision wins than submission, so that's kind of where I was leaning more as far as her getting, a decision as opposed to a submission. But Blanchfield, much like, a girl that beat her not that long ago in Manon Fior, they both have made statements since their losses. Fior finishing Jasmine, and now Erin Blanchfield finishing Cortez. Really good win there for Erin Blanchfield. She's right in the mix here, and still 26 years old, doing it at Madison Square Garden. Huge win there for Erin Blanchfield. Again, this card was so good that like any of these three, like Saint Denis, Nickel, Blanchfield, they could have easily been in the top three. It's just this was a stack card, one of the better pay-per-views for the UFC. And listen, I'll say it. I know I give the UFC a hard time for doing too many events. They absolutely put on a great pay-per-view here tonight. So kudos to the UFC. Okay, let's get to our stock droppers. I know we're already 8 minutes into this video. Biggest stock dropper for me is not the man on the thumbnail. For me, it's actually going to be Sean Brady. Now, look, there was the possibility of Brady losing this fight. I said it before. It was Morales knockout or bust. Whoops, got to get that back in there. He gets knocked out again. It's tough for Brady because, essentially he was fighting down in this fight. Some people felt like he deserved the title shot possibly after submitting Leon Edwards in the fight previously, getting that fourth round submission there. So he kind of, again, it was a tough spot for him to be in. Morales had everything to gain. Brady didn't have a whole lot to gain about beating Morales. He ends up getting finished here in the first round. It's a tough look. It's the fact that he gets finished in the first round is tough. Where does Brady go from here? I still think he's a contender in this weight class, but this certainly puts him behind the 8 ball. And the fact that he's been, his 2 losses now are TKO losses, it's tough, right? I don't think Brady has a bad chin or anything. I just think that, it looks like some of these guys in the weight class have, the striking down a little bit better than Brady does. You can't just wrestle and submit all the time. So Brady to me is the biggest stock dropper because listen, had he won tonight, I think he had a case for a title shot, right? And now he doesn't have that. He's back to the, back a couple steps, and he had a decent win streak going into this one, right? 3 straight wins since the 3 straight wins since losing to Bilal Muhammad back in 2022. So he's the biggest stock dropper just because, he basically missed out on a title shot potentially. Not saying they would have necessarily given it to him, but I think he would have had a case if he beat Michael Morales here. So Sean Brady, biggest stock dropper on this card. Second biggest stock dropper is also not the person on the thumbnail. It's Malcolm Wellmaker. Now look, I cut Wellmaker some slack here. I'm sure there's going to be people calling fraud check and all this different stuff. You know how newer fans are. He was a minus 420 favorite who was supposed to win, but I'll cut Malcolm Wellmaker some slack. His opponent fell out earlier in the week, Cody Hatton. He has a totally new opponent. Ewing actually looked pretty good. I would put Ewing on the stock riser side of things. It's just that there's just no space for him on this particular event. There's so many other things going on. But yeah, it's that aura is gone with Wellmaker with him losing this fight. Now look, he's 31. That's one thing too that works against him a little bit. When you look at Malcolm Wellmaker, you do think of him as being a little bit younger. He's kind of in the prime of his career. It's a loss. It'll happen. It's not like he got finished, but there are some weaknesses that were exposed tonight in this loss. He can go back to the drawing board. The big thing with Wellmaker is how will he respond to this? How will he come back in his next fight? part of the thing with Wellmaker, which is, happens to a lot of fighters, is that, he gets these highlight reel finishes, but the opposition's not great. Chris Montino, Cameron Simon's not in the UFC anymore. So this just shows that there's a lot more work to do with Wellmaker here, but got to put him as a stock dropper because he was the biggest betting favorite that lost tonight. We can't ignore that as far as looking at the stock report here tonight. And then the third biggest stock riser on this card has to be Leon Edwards. And again, Edwards was not favored in this fight. He was a slight underdog against Carlos Prates. What did he end up coming in at? He was a plus 135 underdog. It's just the optics of it. This was a guy that won the welterweight title in spectacular fashion a couple years ago, knocking out Kamaru Usman. He wins the rematch. And ever since then, now he's looking at 3 straight losses. The Bilal Muhammad loss was a total one-sided beatdown in that one, right? And then he gets finished in back-to-back fights. It's tough. I said it before. One of the concerns I had and one of the reasons I picked Prates by knockout in the spot is because I don't think Edwards has fought a guy with the power of Carlos Prates, and that's all it needed. Because, look, I thought Edwards actually performed well in that first round, but, again, all it takes is one shot with Carlos Prates. The dude's an animal. It's going to happen. And now he's lost. And then he loses to a guy in Brady the fight previously who just got knocked out himself. So Leon Edwards in a very tough spot here, 3 straight losses. I don't think a lot of people thought this was going to happen. And he's 34. Not super old, but also not a spring chicken either here. So Leon Edwards, another big stock dropper on this card. Let's get to our honorable mentions here. I'm going to put Jack Della Maddalena as an honorable mention as a stock dropper just because the fight with Islam wasn't that competitive. I think Jack's still a great fighter. First loss in the UFC, not too much to hang your hat low on. But it's just the fact that this fight was not competitive. Della Maddalena didn't have anything for Islam in this fight. Islam looked dominant. That's part of the reason why he's in this spot. But I think Jack still beats a lot of really good fighters in this weight class. So just gets an honorable mention as opposed to a full-on stock drop. Got to talk about Beneil Dariush because I think we got to start talking about retirement with Dariush. Unfortunately, he's 36 now. He's now been finished in, if you look at the optics here, he's been finished in 3 of his last 4 fights, and you're finished in 16 seconds. And look, I get it. Benoit Saint-Denis is a dangerous finisher in that weight class, but we got to start having this conversation, and you combine that with the injuries, the layoffs. This might be the end of the road for Dariush. I think he'll probably get another fight. I wouldn't mind him and maybe Bobby Green fighting or something, but Beneil Dariush, certainly a stock drop as an honorable mention. And then the last one I'll put on here, and maybe you guys will disagree with this one, but I'm putting Tracy Cortez on here. She had, previous to this fight, did get the win over Araujo, just the one loss against Rose Namajunas in her career. She gets finished in the second round here. That's kind of tough. As someone who looked like possibly a contender in the weight class, the way the win streak was going. It's just the fact that she got finished. If you lost a close decision here, I'd feel a little bit better. I think this was an opportunity for Cortez to really break through here, and instead she gets finished in this spot. So I'm going to give Tracy Cortez an honorable mention as a stock dropper here, just because, again, she got finished in the matchup. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who are your 3 biggest stock risers? Who are your 3 biggest stock droppers? Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at Lynch on Sports, like it says on the display here. I'll be back next week on camera, just easier for me to do this as an audio only one. That way I can share the screen with you guys. It's just too hard with the laptop. I don't have the 2 monitors. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back on Monday previewing the Qatar card. I got a flight to catch in a couple hours. I don't think I'm sleeping tonight. I got to go head straight to the airport from Cage Titans. So I'm going to go do that. But I wanted to get this out tonight in a timely manner. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys soon.